What's going on, guys? This is the Buried in the Bones podcast. This is episode 12. And that means it's also been something I've been doing for 3 months now. And it kind of goes in with what I'm going to talk about today. And on the grand scale of things, 3 months is not a long time. But if you know me, that is something I'm pretty proud of and something I'm really excited about. And it's way harder than people think. And kudos to those who do this thing full time. And man, I'm looking forward to seeing this thing grow some more. There was a spurt this past week where I went from, your hundreds of views or whatever, and then overnight, I think it was me and Rich, the episode 10, I believe, we went upwards of like 1,000. So overnight, we kind of hit it off, and people are listening, and they're enjoying, and I think it's got a lot to do with, my intention. And that is exactly what we're talking about today. So set your intentions. And the goal of this is, I think we've all been in a place, maybe currently are, where we feel maybe not stuck, or we're just kind of confused, and we go about our day and we're like, what do we do? What is there to do? Why am I doing this? Why am I not doing that? This is what I want to be like. Why would I want to be like that? You know the drill. We either over critique ourselves, or we don't critique ourselves enough. And so where is the fine point of that? There's got to be a healthy balance. And so set your intention. And I think a lot of that has to do with awareness. And so when I think about what we're going to talk about today, what I really want you guys to understand and get out of this is we're going to figure out how to start our day correctly. We're going to figure out what it is a good day looks like, a perfect day looks like to us, and go over a little exercise, if you will. And we're going to figure out how to put it all together, and then figure out something that I can't do for you, and nor can anybody, which is kind of your own form of self-mastery and your own little journey of self-discovery. And hopefully give you some tools to do that. So the best part is, guys, I don't know if you knew this, but it turns out we don't have the answers. No one does. We only have bits and pieces of what good is. And for the folks who are on the journey or the road to get to better things and are just in search of what is good and reasonable, those are the people you want to be around. And so find those people. So the question of how to change your life, you've heard that before. I think it's super misleading. I also think it's fairly unhealthy. How to change your life. It's so simple. This is how you do it. In the exercise world, it's like how to get a 6-pack of abs in 10 days. It's so corny. How to change your life. I think it's so much more complicated, but yet so simple it can be. It's like we know the answers, but we refuse to answer them. How to change your life. More so, I think the question needs to be, what is it that I need to change? What are the steps to do it? What does that look like? Maybe we can, instead fixing our lives, maybe we fix one thing that we can do better. And then by nature of just compounding, the more I do something good, and the more I set my intentions on doing well, the more I'll find things that are good, the better I will be. And my beauty will be the combination of all of my efforts. So, if I try to do well and set my mind to good things, I assume that's where I'll go. And so let me tell you a story. I love that. I love that transition. So good. So guys, for me, I think one of the best tools I have, at least in my life experience, is one, I do not know everything. And there's a lot I don't know. And I accept the position I'm in life, and very happy to stay in the boundaries of what I do believe I am a professional in, right? And I do have a lot of life experience for someone at my age. And so what I can do is, I think the best skill set is, I have my life story, but I do believe I know how to articulate it well. And I know how to pull from that, and maybe my emotional intelligence that I have found during these times is good. And the purpose of what I hope to be doing for you guys is using life experiences, real ones, not just, bullshit. There's so much out there where you get your influencers who have these fake stories and fake lives, and they're just not very personable, and I can't identify them or identify in them because I've not grown up that way, and that's not what most normal people deal with. And so how in the world can I get there? And the truth is like, you probably can't. And so maybe some honesty will do the trick, and just some acceptance, which I think is very important. But my hope is that I can articulate some emotions and thoughts, and potentially, dare I say, wisdom, based on my own life experience and what has been a high mileage first half of my life. A lot of miles, per se. I've had a lot of miles on my heart, mind, and soul due to loss, grievance. Sometimes those are self-inflicted. The choice of going out on my own, leaping into fear. My professional experience working with the best in the world, and it's so strange to say that. And now I'm going to segue back into the story. So guys, you know what happened. I went out to Phoenix, and the backstory was my senior year, 19 credit hours. I was driving one weekend to Atlanta, Georgia, to be a firefighter with my uncle. The other weekend I'd drive to Columbia, South Carolina, to be a firefighter in what at the time was my relationship was headed, where it was headed at the time. And I got essentially accepted to both, hired on at both, decided to do neither, foregone those, and then went to Phoenix instead. Found my hotel in Winslow, Oklahoma, my apartment. Signed that lease as I got a job. There's a lot of backstory to that, but that's how I got there. And so, intention. I think Jordan Peterson said this, and I love that guy for what he has to say. And despite his, I think he can be polarizing for some. And if you have your ill wishes towards him, you know what? I don't care. But for what he does have to say and how it applies in my life, it makes sense, and I do like it. And he has this common saying, and it's a bad plan is better than no plan at all. And that is precisely what I had. I had a plan. I knew I was really good at strength and conditioning. I got to internship with some pretty amazing strength coaches, and that was at the University of Tennessee for their Olympic weightlifting program. I shadowed underneath a guy named Benjamin Lampkin, who was the Georgia State basketball strength conditioning coach, transitioned over to the University of Tennessee, and had coached at Florida State as well. So I got to get taught underneath him. And then I also had an apprenticeship essentially underneath a guy named Dr. Blanton in sports psychology. And so what is sports psychology? It's funny that one of the coaches at the gym, we do these presentations bi-monthly, and we just do these common, we just teach. Everyone sits down, all the coaches sit down, they do a little professional presentation, and then teach everyone. But we're talking about sports psychology, but what is it? And if you're listening, don't take all these answers. But sports psychology is really just rooted in what is fundamental psychology, and it's just the awareness of motivations, intrinsic, extrinsic. How does each athlete or person respond to them? Where are their natural inclinations at, and are they more of a stressor? Do they have the ability or the tendency to dive into stress, or are they more of an achiever? Do they handle stress well, etc.? So I got to learn a lot, man, and it was really cool. So out in Phoenix, my intent, I have always known, or I've always thought of this idea of this quote, and I believe it was Marcus Aurelius, of stop talking about what a good man should be and just be one. That was probably the primary, and maybe still is the primary driver of what my life is. And so out in Phoenix, it's like strength conditioning. How does that look? Okay, well, I know that at that time I couldn't afford further schooling. I knew I wanted to be in shape. I knew that I had to do something that was challenging for myself. And I think I always had a fear of being a quitter. A lot of things in my life, things happened. Maybe I did quit some things and then other things, and it bothered me. So I put myself in a position where I had a 100% guarantee of either I quit or fail, or see the other way through, which was moving to Phoenix by myself. So when I was out there, guys, it's like, who do you want to be? Well, I would like to be a man who has a moral compass. I would like to stand for what I believe in. And I like this saying, but it's like, a man to everyone is no friend of mine, right? Or a man who is a friend of everybody. I'm not going to say the word here, but if you are a friend to everyone as a man, then that means to some degree there is the potential of you just being a yes man, which means that you are unwilling to stand up to people when they cross the boundary. You are unwilling to say no out of fear for backlash and what they have to say to you. And that's not who I am, if you know me. And I believe that in my soul. So in Phoenix, it's like, who do I want to be? I know I want to be a strength coach. Very, very good at it. And how sad would that be to not just lean into something and just be like, I'm going to go after this and just see what happens. And that was the introduction of what has been my life. So I get there. I worked at a D1 Gilbert, guys. I worked as a strength conditioning coach in Gilbert, Arizona. That was 45 minutes away from where I originally lived. Started coaching. I ended up coaching Donovan McNabb's daughter. If you know who Donovan McNabb is, he is a Hall of Fame quarterback from the Philadelphia Eagles. Very good athlete. Really good guy. But met him. Started working with his daughters. And then networking ended up getting me to a place where I did well with my job. Ended up getting a good position out in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I went from kind of like a part-time strength conditioning coach making his way through and ended up in a sports medicine facility. So keep this in mind, I had not moved to Phoenix, but probably 6 months from then, 6 months removed from graduating, and at 22 years old. And I went from graduation, and then all of a sudden I get to the sports medicine clinic, and I'm working with the pitcher of the year in the NLCS. I'm working with Rookie of the Year. I'm working with the entire Diamondbacks organization and the players that come through. I worked with Derek Rose, which was really cool. And, the problem with me saying some of these names is this is something that I did not agree with, and you will understand in just a second. But, yeah, I've worked with some Giants players and the Dodgers and some folks in the NFL, like the Seattle Seahawks, and some folks who I probably can't say because they came during a big injury. And if you're a really good friend of mine, you probably know. But I cannot disclose that information on the internet. But some really amazing athletes. And to tell you the truth, I wasn't ready for it. Or I didn't believe myself to be. Fake it till you make it, right? I think one of the most humbling things for me in my life at the time, my young professional career, I should say, is that you get put in that position so early. And the nature of life is that life goes on, right? And it's pretty much like the human body. If you add a stimulus too soon, your perception of, or if you feel something, or you are exposed, your exposure to a stimuli is introduced too soon, well, you've kind of adapted to it, and then you have a different perspective or response to it the next time. So one of the best things it's done for me is that I there is no one that I'm not comfortable talking to. One of the hardest things it did is that it set this ego. You know, it's like you give a young man that pedestal of professional career so early, and it's a bit humbling because you're like, well, am I a failure if I am below this? And this is how it gets into my attention. So who do I want to be? I want to be a man. I want to be someone who believes what he believes. I want to do good. I want to love people well. I want to be able to defend myself. I want to be able to stay in shape and take care of myself so I can take care of others. I want to have a home one day. And I don't want to be someone who's pushed around. You know, I want to be talked to with respect. And, you know, I want to be respected, not for the work I do, or I want to be the person that has positive impact in people's lives. That's something I thoroughly have pride in, a good pride in, and it's something that fills my cup when I know I'm doing well. One of the best things I've ever been told by one of my mentors back at home was, it has changed my life. It was, I wish you could see yourself the way I and other people do. And I hope that every single one of you guys hears that one day from someone that you love and respect and admire. It was the best thing I've ever heard. It changed my life. It ended up got me into Arizona. It was the only reason why I had the confidence to go. But I ended up getting positions, guys, where I didn't feel respected. And so there was a time where the money, at some point, it was like, okay, I had a great job, guys. And then there is how much self-respect do I have? There were things going on potentially that I did not agree with. There were ways I was talked to that I certainly was not okay with. And what line? What is the line that you're willing? What's the threshold that you're willing to deal with? When that line's crossed, what do you do? Or cross, what do you do? I had my intentions. I knew exactly when it was time to go. Around that time, the universe made something happen. If you guys listened to the Rich Mulder podcast with me and him a couple weeks ago, we talked about it. But yeah, as soon as that time, it just seemed like a natural thing. I got an offer letter from Rich, and I accepted that position immediately. But one of the best things as life went on there, I met Cal. She was in Tucson. I'd drive down. The way me and Cal started dating, we every week I'd work probably about 5:30 a.m. to about 6 p.m. Cal lived in Tucson at the time. That was about 2.5 hours away from me. And so Monday through Friday I'd work about 5:30 to 6 p.m. I would drive 2.5 hours to go to Tucson to see Cal. And then the only thing open Friday night would be like a movie theater. So Cal and I's first 6 months of dating, every Friday we went to a late night stay movie theater, essentially, where we'd just buy some, food, watch a movie, and then go back and hang out. And that was how we first started dating. It was brutal. After she moved up to Phoenix, there was a time where we were like, maybe we should consider leaving. Like, what else is out there? And I knew I wanted to get married to Cal early on. I forgot the date. I wish I had it on me right now, but I think it was somewhere in March or something, and like a year prior to us ever moving out to Nashville. I had figured out her ring size. I asked her in passing, and so I set my intention. It's like, well, what are my goals? What do I want? Well, I think the moment I met her was I wanted to cultivate a life. And the only way to do that for me was to establish myself in a career, establish a home, and figure out where it is we could be. So that was the game plan. And I remember I had a journal. And we were figuring this thing out, man. We were talking about San Francisco. We were talking about Seattle, Boston, Austin, Texas. And somehow we landed on Nashville, Tennessee. And that's where I had to rely back on my intentions. As a young man at the time, it was like selfish tendencies are so easy to pop up, especially when you still give yourself an out. You're not going to cut them. So it was like, but I want to go here. Or, I want to do this instead. And the answer was, but I want this life. So my intentions were set. I wrote down in a notebook, I said, commit to something 100%, just see what happens. And 2 years later, I became engaged. I'm married now. I have a home. And I'm at a very awesome gym and met some incredible people in my life. And I'm just trusting that this is the path I'm supposed to be on for now. And that is the best part about going through some of those things, is that I have a sense of awareness of where I want to go, and I'm not going to make emotional decisions in my life chasing something that has no substance, doesn't have any tangibility to it, doesn't have something that I can touch and hold, and all it does is either take me on a lateral move or maybe create some momentum backwards, which is not what you want. So what I had to do was set a goal. And in 2 years' time, I got engaged. My intentions were, from that point on, I need to build a life. I need to eradicate all that was and begin what's new. That required me identifying as a man more. Not just like a guy who's in shape, stay in shape. Now that guy has to stay in shape, take care of someone, take care of a dog that he owns, work very hard, figure out a home, a safe haven, be a protector, be a good professional, work my way up, right? Continue to do this so I can help people as well as write. A place for me, a place for my soul, a place to put my soul on paper, and then hopefully have other people maybe take that and self-explore as well. In my intentions, the whole idea was every day it seemed that my goal has been what my goal is and where I'm going. And what I mean by that is every day it's pretty obvious what I want to do right now. I want to be a great professional, I want to be a great man, I want to be a great provider. And so that's easy for me to wake up and think, okay, this is where I'm going. And it's a good reminder for when I get very lazy or I sit on the couch for a little bit too long and just sit. And when nothing's happening, and if that nothing's for no good, it gives me evidence that I can be doing good elsewhere. Intention's everything. So let me break down that story and just compartmentalize it in a few steps. You have to kind of imagine who you can be. You have to know where it is you're at. You have to ask yourself what it is that you need changing or what you want to change. It's not about how to change your life. That happened for me over the course of 3-4 years. But the big step is taking the step, the grand step, the one that is macro. And then all of your little micro adjustments within your journey, as long as your ideas are good, and that's where your heart is set, you can start putting in the pieces together and solving your own puzzle. But a bad plan is better than no plan at all. And so if we're confused about how it is we're waking up every day and we're like, I want to get in shape. Okay, how do you do that? Okay, well, the first step is self-awareness. Ask yourself a hard question. Am I capable enough to get myself in a position to where I can get in shape, or do I need guidance? Step one. If you need guidance, find your teacher. That's going to be a highly qualified professional, hopefully, in a gym. Me. If you guys are looking to change your life. So you found your goal. And then the rest of your journey is going to be these small little micro wins. How you wake up. Is that how you perceive? How does getting in shape affect who you are and your character? If you don't have an idea of who you want to be and where you're going, it's going to be really hard throughout the day to understand what it is you need to do, when it is you need to draw the line. Do I need to be eating this? I know you want to go out and drink beers all weekend again, but should we do this instead? These are questions that you can just ask yourself, and it's very basic. I mentioned the other day that beauty is hollow when it lacks function in the strength conditioning fitness world. It's like vanity. There's no function in vanity. There's no real reason to just stare at yourself and mindlessly destroy your body just so you can see your own presence and perceive yourself as something that needs improving consistently and consistently and consistently. That's not what your body was the tool for. You can do so much more. But if beauty is hollow without function, then I also think certain accomplishments are pretty much empty without intent and reason. We see it a lot now with ultra marathon runners, and it's super interesting, and I just talked to my buddy about this, but why? At some point, if we sit back and we look at what's going on for most of us, on what's going on Instagram, for example, on social media, fitness has become a world where it is just indirect, masked, almost masochism and narcissism, and they've used it as a place that used to be for the inclusion of people and for the betterment of the world, and now is a place that they get to backhandedly tell you that they are better than you and I, and that their goals are and their accomplishments are better than what you can accomplish. Everything on social media is for the extrinsic validation. These ultra marathons, it's like, look at the dropout rates. It's very interesting. They're extremely high. Yes, it's extremely hard as well. However, so much of it's for external validation. It's not powerful enough to get a lot of people through. So some of those people, when they hit the wall, for those who have a personal reason and a personal vendetta or a journey of their own and some intent behind their reasoning and their justification for why they're doing these endurance events, they are able to get through, other than the people who maybe just want to tell people about the shit they did and how accomplished they are and how much better their badass accomplishment is than yours. I think accomplishments and discipline, things like that, when they lack legitimate reason, it just seems a bit hollow to me as well. It's no more than just, it's a vain accomplishment, if you will. I think intention is everything. Intention is it's how I wake up in the morning. I'm going to brush my teeth. Yes. Okay, I need to go downstairs. I need to fill my body and fuel my body with proper nutrition. I need to make sure I get up at this time, because if I go to work feeling bogged down and like I'm scrambling out the door, I'm also not going to treat the first person I see the best. That client that comes in the door is not going to get my best effort. That's not fair. They're paying for my best effort. That's not cool. Intention is everything. How you go home. You know you're going to be tired. Do you take a moment before you go inside and talk to your significant other? Do you give yourself the 10-minute reset? Do you have an intent when you walk in the door? You're going to blindly just unconsciously walk through, slam your keys on the ground and go, "Hey, how you doing?" "Yeah, yeah." Doesn't stare, doesn't look in their eyes, right? You're staring at the phone and catching up on your notifications and mindlessly scrolling on Instagram or social media. What do you do the rest of the day? Where's your intent? Who do you want to be? It's interesting, man. Robert Greene said this thing I thought it was really interesting, and it's something that I found very valuable, because we always are talking about purpose, and it's so interesting. People talk about work a lot, and I think life is, maybe work is about it's about maximizing your acquired skills, right? the combination of everything you've learned and facilitating it in the best way possible to help other people, that's probably the best form of mastery. And he said that mastery is the highest level of creative excellence. And it's something we should all shoot for. It's like we all have skill sets, we're all in positions, and eventually work at some point is going to be work. I just actually wrote about this in a team email that I sent out. But on the days that I'm not the best, for example, in my professional setting, the days that I'm not feeling the most me, those are my best coaching days. Because my intent is in my work. And I know that if my work is pure, at least if my intentions are good, I can rely on what I'm a professional at, and my coaching becomes the best because I can distract my selfishness and my emotional feelings and dive into what I'm being paid for, which is strength and conditioning and elite coaching. Mastery is the highest level of creative excellence. And mastery is only gonna happen, and you can only walk through that door if you're okay with finding the diligence and the basics and being very, 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 very good at them with everything. Mastery in coffee making, mastery in changing a tire, for example, mastery in riding a bike, cooking, all these things, the details, the nuance. Somewhere outside of that nuance and the boredom, if you get past that, that's where you'll find some mastery and some creativity. So goal setting. How can we find an intent in our day? I think what we have to do is, instead of thinking how to change your life, this macro, this gigantic scale, this all one size fits all approach of how to fix your life. How about you and I right now, get your papers out. I'll wait. Get your papers out. Get a pen. Hurry up. Let's start with changing our day. Let's figure out how to make unconscious habits conscious. Bring them to life. And let's implement some true conscious habits to hopefully make positive. And those positive conscious habits, if you listen to me and Rich 2 weeks ago, let's make those positive conscious habits eventually unconscious. So you go from unconscious habits to your conscious about what was your negative unconscious habits. And now we're going to implement some new ones, eventually hoping those new ones that are positive in my life become unconscious again. Note that's a habit, that's some nuance and no longer a burden in my life. So let's change our day. And so what I want you to do right now with your pen and paper is, I want you to write down, what does a perfect day to you look like? How does it look? I'll do it in my head right now. What does a perfect day to me look like? I haven't written this down, guys. I haven't written this down at all. I actually am going to do this with you guys. Perfect day to me is, if I had it right, I'd wake up when my alarm goes off around 4:30 or 4:45. I know that has to happen. It's logical for me. I want to make sure I brush my teeth, and then when I walk downstairs, I would love to make sure my dinner's ready before 5 a.m. My breakfast is ready before 5 a.m. I'd like to get some movement and mobility in before I go to work. Ankles, my hips, my spine. I'd like to move around a little bit. I'd like to write for a second or read a quick book. And then I think I'd like to write Cal a note before I leave every day. I'd like to have that breakfast and make sure I have a good pour over cup of coffee. Sometimes I miss on that. I can tell it kind of does affect my day, not because I need it, it's just because it does make my day better. This time I'll bring a snack, because I never bring a snack to work. I'll make sure I coach my ass off, because that's what people deserve. This is a normal day, right? I'll coach. I'll make sure I do my job well. Be sure to ask people how they're doing more and be less stressed out and overly concerned about my perfectionism. Won't stress out about things. Have a good snack. Ideally, when I'm done, let's say this is a perfect day, I'd love to get a lift in 3 of the 7 days a week. Right after work, I'd love to go pick up Leo, maybe take him to Percy Warner, which is a park in Nashville. Take him on a walk or a trail run a couple times a week. When I get back home, probably take care of the house, do some couple things that I know I have to do. I'd like to write for at least an hour. I'd like to get a walk in for sure. I'd like to read a little bit. Me and Cal hopefully will watch Kill Tony afterwards as we're cooling down later in the day. I'd like to sit on the back porch if the sun's out and just chill, man. Just enjoy it. And then when that day's over, I'll hopefully do some mobility and stuff before I go to bed. So, perfect day to me. Eat well. Do my job well. Become a master in it. Go on walks outside. Go outdoors. Go in nature. Make sure to get a lift in because it makes me stronger, happier, and healthier. I like seeing what my body can be physically capable of and getting closer to that threshold. Make sure I eat good foods, man. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Spend time with my loved ones like Cal, Leo, my dog. And just embrace being home, man. I think it's a perfect day to me. So I hope you guys wrote yours down. Maybe pause for a second if you need to. So, that being said, that also means now that you have that, you have to write down what you're going to eat, right? What you're going to have for breakfast, and you have to stick to it. You're going to have to write down what it is you're going to bring to your work, per se. You're going to have to write down what you're going to have for lunch, what time you're going to go out to your park or nature or whatever you're going to do. If you're going to exercise, what time you're going to do it at, how it's going to fit your day, make it happen. What you're going to have for dinner, make that happen. And then find your favorite show or whatever you want to read, whatever you want to write about, make that happen. If you want to go outside for sunset, make it fucking happen. It's not about how to change your life. What it does do is you realize you have these things at your disposal now and tools, and you'll wake up and then you get to fight the unconscious habits. And they become conscious, right? It's like, I don't want to get the pan out because I have to clean it after. That's me. That was a unconscious habit, but until I brought in this new diet that I've been working on, I didn't realize how burdensome I thought of that pan to be. And I know that's super annoying and corny, but it's true. Little things like that, whenever you set it, you realize you have all these things working against you, all these micro thoughts and habits and actions and feelings, and whether they're justified or not, they're happening, and you get to decide if you're gonna win in that moment. Have your stimulus, the thought, create your space, think about it, and then your response will give you a better time and a better life ahead. But I think if you make a perfect day, instead of being like how to change your life, I think a day is tangible, it's manageable, and it's moldable. If you get called in, like, you can still have your perfect day. And the truth is, it's gonna take work. But concentrated practice over time, it's almost impossible not to have positive results. It's almost impossible. So, that means you're also gonna have to find joy in the new journey. Set your intentions on who you want to be. Think about it. Find joy in what it's like to reinvent yourself. And if you're like me, you're going to have to embrace the organic addition or removal of people, things, and opportunities in your life. For me, it's been people. I've had beautiful, amazing people put in my life recently. And also what feels like some removal of those who I thought I was like really close with and inspired by. And guys, this is part of life, man. And like, no hard feelings. My life goes on. These people's lives go on. Me and Cal's lives go on. And I wouldn't change a damn thing. Not a damn thing. So, you got to set your intent. Set the perfect day. Your strategy is going to help kind of bridge that connection of what is an idea and what becomes reality. So, Concentrated efforts with this strategy will help bridge kind of the gap of what seems like an idea to what becomes tangible real life evidence. It's a fun little exercise for us. I think it's so good. Set your perfect day, write it down, and try to do it. All of your intention will be rooted in what we're always striving to gain, which is a little bit of self-awareness. It's just going to help spark some self-awareness. You're going to see it. You're going to see these things that we do when we get home. You're going to realize some of these things that happen in our day. It'll help a lot. How we begin our day, how we interact with others. There's intent behind that. How I choose to say good morning, how I choose to turn my alarm clock off, what I decide to put in my pan or bring the pan out for breakfast. The first interaction I have with a person. When I get home, am I going to walk the dog? Did I take my 10-minute reset time to take a deep breath and intentfully walk inside the house to make sure that I am giving people my best? Because the way people are experiencing you and I are usually not how I am experiencing them, right? The way you experience people is not how they're experiencing you. So just because we've had a tired day does not mean we or other people are aware of our tired day, so we cannot assume or put them in positions that make them feel bad for that. Create a plan, even if it's a bad one. Creating one doesn't really guarantee that you're going to have the perfect day, but if you don't do it, it's going to absolutely guarantee that you won't. I'll say that again. That was good. If you don't set your intentions on a perfect day and have a plan, it's not a guarantee that it's going to happen. You're not guaranteed to have a perfect day, but if you don't, you're going to guarantee yourself that you won't have one. That's a fact. Here's a little Stoic quote for you guys. Let all of your efforts be directed to something. Let it keep that end in view. It's not activity that disturbs people, but false conceptions of things that drive them mad. False conceptions. False ideas. Your assumptions. If you don't have an intention about your end of your day, how will you know what to do? How will you know how to interact? How will you know when to draw the line? How will you know what it is, where it is you're going? How will you know when to quit? How will you know when it's too much? If you don't know who it is you want to be, how it is you want to get there, and what your perfect day looks like. Action without intention is redundant and just fatiguing. That's good. Action without intent is just fatiguing. Yeah, it's kind of like the movement problem, right? Move or expire, but don't confuse movement with progress. If we're moving left and right, are we going forward? No. You've seen it on TV. If you watch football, you've seen those guys who juke left and right, left and right, left and right. That's a lot of movement, and they get tackled for 0 yards. That's because it's not movement. There's confusion. If I had to think about my intent as a man and how I've grown since Phoenix, I don't know when this happened to me, my friends. I really don't. But at some point in my life, I decided this is who I'm going to be. At some point. I really don't know when it happened. But I wouldn't be where I'm at today, and I wouldn't have said no to some of the people, and I wouldn't have walked out the door, per se, to some of these folks if I didn't think in my gut that the direction I was headed was at least where I want to be, or at least a step forward or a step closer to that. I can't wait to release this website. I have some writing about it, and I wrote about that, and I can't wait for you guys to read it. I'm keep leaving you guys those nuggets. I can't wait for that website to be released. We're adding to it, man. We're building it out, making sure it is a good little product and a good space for you all to get all of the information you want and need about me, about strength and conditioning, fitness, nutrition, writing, journaling, access to information and studies. I'll have it all. movement libraries, all the things. But if I hadn't decided that, who I was going to be, this vague picture of that person, that man that I see down the line, I see the end, I just can't see it clearly yet, but I'm stepping closer, right? I wouldn't have said no to those people, and I wouldn't have been where I'm at today. And I wouldn't be in what I would now consider home. And I saw this, I read this, and I thought it was beautiful. And I can't wait for you guys to hear it. So, the title is Home. If I hadn't had the knowledge that I can go anywhere, I would be better off. Anywhere can be everywhere, but I could not be anywhere other than home. One day I shall wake and look in the mirror. The man I see may be the strongest, richest, and smartest, but no matter how close I get to the mirror, I'll be no closer to he. So, sail he might through the many waters of life, but he will find no condition to be favorable when only in search of the purest waters. What he will find is all of life's riches, except for the one that makes him richest, his soul. I wrote that. It's pretty good. It's one of my favorite writings. Almost makes me emotional. It's a good one. The truth is, we just have to set our intention on what's good. And we just got to think about a day and start there. Stop thinking about how to change your life. It's not going to happen overnight, but you can change a day, and then you can do it again. And you can change your day again. And do that until it complements who you envision yourself to be. You've probably been searching for a long time. I know I have. I still am. I am no different than you guys. But the truth is, I think life today has us searching and searching and searching. We have all of this information. And we have all of these pieces and things at play. But the truth is that the beacon will always course correct back to you. And that you are the answer. And that's the hardest of all. Truth sucks. So, I want you guys to find your perfect day. And then aim or think about who it is that you want to be. And then aim single-mindedly at that. And if you get stuck, you can decide the person to be the person that says, onwards. Set your intent.